Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Amy. Today I am here to do a very delayed August wrap up for you guys. So if you're interested in seeing the books that I read this month, then go ahead and keep on watching. I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys. This month was not a great reading month for me. I went back to work this month. Today was actually my first day with kiddos at the school, and let me tell you what, I am exhausted. So if I look like I got ran over, it's because I did. I got ran over by about, I don't know, 35 3 to 5 year olds. Adventures, everyone. But this month started with Tome Topple for me. This was my first experience with Tome Topple, and let me tell you, it didn't go well. And the book that I attempted to read for this was Paris the Novel by Edward Rutherford. This is a book that I hauled in my very first haul ever, and I was so excited to read this. Essentially, this book tells the history of Paris through various fictional characters and what's happening. This book takes place from the 1200s to the 1950s, and I got about halfway through it. I did not DNF it. I just got really tired of reading it. And for various reasons, I've decided to include it in this video just because I spent a long time reading this book, even though I still didn't finish it. But for me, this book, it's good. It's really good. It's interesting. The facts are there. If you're a history buff and you have any interest in Paris or France, this is great. But it's dense. It is not done in chronological order. And so you are jumping centuries. And that keeps you referring back to the family tree map that's in the beginning of this book, that also can be a bit of a spoiler because you see certain connections that happen before you read about them. So I just decided to do something that I almost never do, and I decided to just put this book down and continue on reading because I was about halfway through August and I just wasn't wanting to pick this up, and I was ready for something different, so I just decided to do that. Like I said, I did not DNF this book. I do want to finish it, but I just needed to step away from it for a while, which, like I said, is unlike me, but I just needed to do it. I do enjoy it. I just find it hard to pick it up once I put it down. So I'm blaming this book on the bit of a slump that I had this month. But anyway, book number one. A book that I read at the very, very beginning of the month, I will put right here. It's called A Gentleman Never Tells, and I will be totally honest with you, I don't remember who the author is, and I also only gave this book 1 out of 5 stars because I remember nothing about it. I read this book on my new Kindle Paperwhite that I got as an anniversary gift from my husband at the beginning of the month, and I couldn't tell you anything about it, so I just say pass on that one since I remember absolutely nothing. The second book that I read on my Kindle was Beautiful Bodies by Kimberly Ray Miller. Again, I don't totally remember. I'm so terrible with that with ebooks because I don't see the cover. It just doesn't connect in my brain. I couldn't stand this memoir because when I picked this book up, I thought it was something totally different than what it was. It was advertised about a book that is a commentary on our relationship between food and our bodies. Sounds super interesting to me. This is a memoir, which it does say on the cover, but like I said, I don't pay super great attention to ebook covers. And I hated this. For me, this was the story of a woman who spent her entire life dieting. Her career was about dieting and reporting on diets, and she was a model for a little while and always struggled to be skinny. She never was obese and like extremely large, but she was never what you would call skinny. She was always what would be considered a plus size model. And throughout the book, she's struggling with this. She marries a man who is a personal trainer in really, really good shape, but she just struggles with depression and her body image and her confidence. And I'm gonna, spoiler alert guys, if you have every intention of reading this, just skip over this part real quick. The whole point of the story is that she miscarries a baby and it's like, you know what, if I want to be pregnant again, I just need to not worry about my body. And then it's done. 1 out of 5 stars, guys. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. And I continued on with Saga this last month, and I read volumes 2 through 5, so that's 4 books, and these are by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I absolutely love the first volume, which I read in July and gave that 4 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to go into each specific one, but I would say each of them was either a 3 or a 4-star read for me, which is really good. The storyline is great. It's interesting. There are a few volumes that for me were a bit of a story builder and just kind of leading up to what was going to come next, which was fine. They're still exciting. They're still really good. Go pick them up. If you haven't read a graphic novel before, this was my first graphic novel experience and I absolutely loved it. But again, I'm gonna warn you guys because it seems like nobody talks about this. Mature audiences. Really, really mature audiences. Mature. Very mature. I wouldn't give this to a teenager even, I'll be honest with you. Anyways, really enjoyed these books. Got through 4 of them. I do have the last 2 in my possession and plan to pick those up very soon. I also read a novella this month and I read Shopgirl by Steve Martin. I've already posted a review on this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I will link it up here for you guys if you haven't checked it out yet, but I really enjoyed it. It's a quirky read. Go check out my review if you're interested, but I would say go pick this up if you're looking for something just kind of off the wall strange. I also managed to pick up another Frederick Bachman this month, and I actually had this book on my 5-star predictions list. I will leave that up here for you guys if you haven't checked that video out yet. And that was Britt Marie Was Here by Frederick Bachman. His writing is still really, really good, guys, but unfortunately it wasn't a 5-star read for me. It just wasn't there. It was actually a 3 out of 5. So I was a little bit disappointed just because I did love A Man Called Uva and my grandmother asked me to tell you she's sorry so very much. That being said, I still enjoyed this story. It's still a very good story. I just found that I didn't connect to Britt Marie very well. And that could be her personality type. She's a very type A personality. She's going to tell you what you're doing wrong, thinking she's being kind and helping you, but in a way comes across as passive aggressive. But his writing, it's still on point. He still makes you laugh. I still cried. I was still invested in this story. I plan on doing some comparisons of Frederick Bachman's work. Please excuse my dog. He's outside chasing squirrels. But so you will hear more from me about this book and more of Frederick Bachman's work because I officially own all of his books or novellas now and hopefully we'll be finishing them soon. But 3 out of 5 stars, guys. Still a good read, but I would recommend A Man Called Uva and My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry more. And I read a library book this month. I actually read a couple, but I'll tell you about the other one in a little bit. But the first book I read this month from the library was Exit West by Mohsen Hamid. I mentioned this book in my rapid fire book tag, which was not so very rapid, actually very chatty, and I mentioned that it was a really, really good book. It is a good book, but I will admit the more that I've thought about it since reading it, the less I've liked it. If you don't know, this is the story about 2 people, Saeed, I'm probably not saying that right, and Nadia, who develop a relationship in their country. It's never specified what country they live in, but in my head it was the Middle East, and they begin their love affair right around the time that a civil war breaks out in their area. And they begin to hear rumors about these doors that if you walk through them, they will transport you to another place around the world. It could be anywhere. And they end up walking through one of these doors and become refugees. In the synopsis, it says that this is a love story, which it is. But for me, I think it downplayed the role of Nadia and Saeed as refugees in it. I found that book to be much more about that and much more about them as individuals, which just so happened to affect their relationship. I think this is an interesting book. I think that he tried to bite off more than he could chew. He had some really good points in this book. I found the refugee conversation really interesting, what it means to be a native, what it means to be a refugee, what rights that gives you. All very intriguing. The relationship was intriguing. Not what I expected, but interesting. If you want me to do a review, guys, I think I have enough to talk about this book that I could do a review on it. So if you're interested in that, let me know. This book has been longlisted for the Man Booker Prize, which is part of the reason why I picked it up. I was curious, but it did sound interesting. But overall, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because there were parts that I really enjoyed, but other parts that just missed the mark for me. I also managed to read a YA book this month, and that was Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. This is the story about a girl named Audrey who is 14 years old and suffering from a variety of anxiety issues, depression, due to an incident that happened to her while she was at school. She is now at home, not permanently, but at home. She's not in school. She's taking a break and only spends time at home or at her therapist's office. And this is just her personal story about dealing with that and finding new friendships and healing as best she can, and how that also affects her family. I really enjoyed this book, guys. I know this is a controversial book. There is argument that there is the white knight trope or the knight in shining armor trope, because there is a love interest for Audrey in here with a boy named Linus, and it's very sweet, and I can understand why people feel that way. I still found this book important because it was talking about mental illness in a group of young adults that I think a conversation needs to be happening all the time, because it does affect kids these age, and it affects people of all ages, and this is just a way to bring it to the forefront. And because I find this such a important topic, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. If I didn't think it was so important, as far as the book itself, I would say 3 out of 5 stars. I have filmed a review on this, you guys, twice. I scrapped the first one. The second one I still haven't posted because I'm still not happy with it, and that one I am all over the place. I'm jumping everywhere. I might repeat myself a couple times. It does get a little bit personal because I have mentioned on my channel before, I have suffered from various mental anxiety, depression issues as well. So this is very close to my heart and a very important subject. And I did relate personally with this book, which is saying something because it is a YA book. But if you're still interested in seeing a very all over the place review, it has been filmed. I've pretty much edited it, I hate that word, completely. So it would take no time to post it. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, just let me know and I will just throw it up there. I'm already on YouTube / the internet. What more damage can I do? But like I said, because I think this is important, 4 out of 5 stars. But if we were going purely on just book, characters, writing, I would say 3 out of 5. And the last book that I read this month was also a library book. And I defeated the purpose of it being a library book because I loved this book so much that I bought myself my own copy. I don't have it yet, but I do still have the library copy, and that is Someone by Alice McDermott. This is everything a book should be, you guys, and I know why I liked it, because this book is very, very similar to A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Much shorter, but still phenomenal. This is a story about a girl named Marie growing up in Brooklyn after World War I, but not before World War II. And this is just her story of growing up and aging and learning about her sexuality and relationships and her family, all of it. It's another character-driven, not really much of a plot. This does tend to focus more on some of her adult aspects of her life. And for the most part, this book is chronological and it is told from the first-person point of view, but every now and then you jump ahead in the future to where she's an older woman and has grown children. And it's just amazing. Alice McDermott's writing, this is my first experience with it, is phenomenal. This book did win a National Book Award. I totally understand why. Her writing is stunning. She uses the sense of smell and the way things smell in such a way that I swear I knew exactly what Marie was smelling throughout this book. I've read very few books that elicit the sense of smell and how important it is like it was done in this book, and it was gorgeous. I didn't get as much of a feel for Brooklyn itself like I did in A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I think I might do a review comparing, mostly talking about this one, but also comparing it to A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, because so many people have read that book. But oh, I love this book so much. It is largely, obviously it's about Marie, it's told from her point of view, but her brother, who was trained to be a priest but did not last a year in his first parish and left the Catholic Church as a priest, is a very, very important, poignant part and arc throughout the story that I just thought was beautiful. Can I gush more? I'm running out of words, guys. This book is so wonderful. If you have read this book, please let me know. I would love to talk to you guys about it. And if you haven't read it, go read it. If you even liked A Tree Grows in Brooklyn a little bit, you will definitely like this book as well. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Okay guys, so I finished 11 books this month, which sounds like I did pretty good because I believe last month was 13 books and the month before that was 11, but 4 of those were graphic novels, 1 was a novella, several of them were much shorter than my average read, but I feel like I'm coming out of my slump slowly but surely, and I did manage to get halfway through Paris, which is about 400 pages halfway through. So I did some serious reading this month, but just didn't feel great about it. I'm hoping September is better, although like I mentioned, I am back to school and back to work, so less hours in the day, but you know, sometimes my house just doesn't need to be cleaned and a book needs to be finished. But let me know what you guys thought of any of these books, if you've read them, if you plan on reading any of them. If I haven't done a review on one of these and you'd like to see that again, let me know. I'm so happy to be talking to you guys again. I have not filmed in over a week and I've actually missed this. I'm getting used to this. I like talking to you guys. So if you liked this video, please like it, and if you loved it, please subscribe, and we will see you in my next video. Happy reading. Get out of my light.
Thumbnail. Thumbnail.
I'm doing the thumbnail right now.
He smiles. Put your tongue away while you're doing a thumbnail. You're so cute.
Yeah, creeping.
Why am I paper?
Because you're creeping.
Thumbnail.
I'm doing the friggin' thumbnail.
Don't forget your thumbnail.
Shut up. Hey, Rock. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I will. Loki's freaking out.